We've got a great session for you today. We've got a couple of success stories in terms of what businesses are thinking about, and then we're going to have the second set of the sessions going to talk about the tools that we can all use. Hopefully we're going to stay on time. We're really going to go rapid fire, about 5 minutes for the first set of talks, 10 minutes for the second. We're hoping to get some Q&A time at the end where our speakers can come up and we can have some questions for them and have some discussion in terms of some takeaways that we can all leave this meeting with. First of all, let me ask you this. How many of you watched the weather on TV or their tablet this morning? Pretty much, well, most everybody, right? So you know how it goes, right? You're watching the weather, the storm may come, the storm's going to come, not sure how bad it's going to be, and then, bam, you're 2 days away, it's coming, it's going to be bad. Right? So our session today is going to focus on the tools that business owners have to deal with that reality. In terms of where I'm coming from as your moderator, I'm from FM Global. We used to call Factory Mutual Insurance Company. We're a Rhode Island company. We've been here for 179 years. We're a global commercial industrial property insurance company started by some England mill owners that realized it was better to take risk improvement measures beforehand to reduce a loss than it was to recover from the loss afterwards. And so they formed a mutual company in 1835. We're still mutually owned, which means we're owned by our policyholders, with the belief that we can reduce risk and put our business owners back in business the next day. My job in charge of research is to provide the knowledge and tools that those businesses use to be resilient and back in business. We work around the globe. We insure typically 1/3 of the Fortune 1000 is our customers. Mostly large businesses. We do 110,000 or so risk assessments a year on different locations of businesses. That risk assessment and the risk improvement guidance our engineers give our clients is what we use to underwrite. We don't use actuaries or actuarial tables. And so what I'm going to share with you just to kick off this session is some of the experiences we've had from those kinds of events and working with those clients over our 79-year history. 72% of our clients are multinational companies. They're all around the world. We have about 5,000 employees, 1,800 engineers or so. So we're not going to insure the Sandwich Shack, but we will insure PepsiCo and Disney and Caterpillar and some of the things, the household names that you're aware of. Those are our customers. That's our customer base, because that's where the engineering risk improvement really pays off. So I have kind of a 7-point talk I'm going to go through very quickly because I've got about 7 minutes and I've already used several of them on how business owners can change their own climate. Okay? So you can't change your climate outdoors, but you can change your own business climate. We know where things are headed. We're having about 120 or so billion plus weather-related events throughout the United States. 2011 was kind of a high point. We hit 52 billion. For those of you that have children born now, they're going to live to be 105. About the time they're 35, right in the center of their career, we're looking at around $1 trillion a year in property damage in coastal cities. $1 trillion. Okay, so unless you're in the federal government and dealing with budget, that's a lot of money. Okay, so that's what we're talking about in the future. I'm going to give you 7 steps that we've learned. I have some stories to go behind each of these. Know your risk, basically know what's covered. Great example from Lisa, designed to minimize that risk. Keep your critical services operational. There's some things you can do about vital organs or key equipment and how you can relocate those. Protecting openings, specifically from flood. There's a lot of breakthroughs after Sandy. The good news of Sandy is that the industry really stepped up in terms of ways to protect from flood. And then have a solid plan. So let me just breeze through these real quickly. First of all, know your risk. You have to know if you're in a flood zone or a wind zone. You know, in the U.S., we have great maps for flood, great maps for wind. The main thing is making sure that you understand all of your site and what's exposed. There's lots of stories where there's a site with lots of buildings on it, and that one building is in a low spot, and during a heavy precipitation event, it's underwater. Okay, so it's important to think about those zones within your own site as well. Also keep in mind, and this is something I continue to preach, a 100-year flood doesn't mean it happens once every 100 years like clockwork. It means you have a 1 in 100 chance of it happening every year. So the way we refer to these things really is important. It's a 1 in 100 chance every year. And the way I took a look at this is if I could win the lottery with these kinds of odds, I'd be, I wouldn't be here. I'd probably be at the beach in the Bahamas. So. Second's already been covered. I can't emphasize enough, know what's in your policy. Know what's excluded. Know the fine print. Some of the major suggestions that we make is make sure your policies align with your risk appetite. Have some kind of a policy workshop. Lay out the scenarios you're concerned about in front of your insurer and say, what if this happens? What would happen next? We have an example of a major manufacturer in New Jersey whose broker did not purchase flood insurance for them. After Sandy, they thought they were covered. Zero. No flood insurance at all. So these kinds of exercises will make sure that you don't have any blind spots in your business. Whether your business is a small business or a large business or a municipality, make sure you talk to your insurer and know what's covered. The best thing you can do, of course, is to avoid the hazard altogether. If you can locate your facility someplace where there are no hazards, that's great. The reference was made to Denver. Yeah, that's a pretty good place. But we're here in Rhode Island. A beautiful place to be. Avoiding it is sometimes very difficult. There's ways that you can protect a facility. We have our engineering standards. They're available on the web, fmglobal.com/research. You can pull all those things down. I'm not going to go into them. Simple things, obviously, for flood. Keep it up above level. Second thing, in terms of keeping those critical services operated, HVAC, electrical, alarm, water services, telecommunication, backup systems. Go through and go through your own what-if scenario in your business and say, what if I had a wind event or a water event? Would I be able to use the phone? Would I be able to keep the building tenable? Most importantly, would I have power? And what will I do when I don't have power? That's vital. A lot of times a key market share issue for businesses, the businesses that have backup generators or some way to have power are in business the next day, and they're capturing customers and selling products and doing great business, and the ones that don't have power are out of business and losing market share and losing money and laying off employees. Power is a vital thing. We're more and more dependent on computers. Make sure those computers, especially the ones that you keep your vital information on, are up and out of harm's way. On the interior part of the building for wind, up and out if you're in flood exposed. Protecting openings. You know, we show pictures of window damage. The reality is windows are cheap. The real problem with window damage is the water that comes in afterwards. Okay? So the neighbor from your grouchy's roof, the nice little plants they keep on their green roof and patio, all those things are going to come missiles in a wind event. So make sure you protect your openings. There's cost-effective ways to do it. You can certainly protect against things. If you can't get your neighbor to remove those plants from your roof, you can't put up shutters if you're in a high-rise like this. There's film that you can attach to that glass that will keep it from breaking. Just make sure that film is attached to the frame of the window. Otherwise, the window comes out as a whole piece. The water still comes in. The only people that are happy are the maintenance people because it's easy to pick up the broken window from the pool of water inside your building. So make sure those things are done right. That's where standards and tools are going to help you. You're going to hear more about that from my VHS later, and you can certainly reference our standards as well. Shutters, plywood is kind of the nominal thing. Make sure that you don't put up oriented strand board or real flimsy things. I can throw a rock through that, so make sure that you don't use those things. Use plywood. Protect your building if you're looking at debris around your building. Protecting openings from water. This is a hospital that flooded in 2006. The CEO said, we're never going to have it happen again. Never, ever again. Sandy, they were fortified, they were ready to go. All because they put up flood barriers, they moved that equipment, and there's lots of options after Sandy. We worked with the Army Corps of Engineers to test and certify the performance of flood barriers. We have 27 of them that have been put on the market since Sandy alone. Whether it's something that could go in a door or a dock door or a fence that you can set up outside your facility, they're available, they've been tested, they're certified, recertified, and they actually work. And so you can purchase them and have them ready to put up in your building. NationalFloodBarrier.org is a great resource. And here's that same hospital where they flooded the next time. They put up a wall, they've got removable barriers, they put in a parking lot, and they were able to protect those openings. Last thing, have a plan. Have a flood emergency response plan. You can see the average loss in dollars when there's strong practices versus weak practices. I think that kind of stands to reason. Solid plan is going to improve your recovery. Make sure your FERP, you understand your exposures. FERP is Flood Emergency Response Plan. You have good warning methods, and you have established emergency actions. The most important thing for a firm is have those resources available and practice. I have lots of examples where people have a plan, the management knows there's a plan, the people don't. So make sure you avoid that blind spot. Practice those plans, just like a fire drill or any other kind of plan. Okay, to sum it up, know your risk, know what's covered, designed to minimize the risk, keep those critical services activated, relocate key equipment, protect openings, and how to solve it. Okay, so those are 7 key things that can be done. There's always going to be hazards. There's ways of dealing with them. 7 steps can make a difference because we know it makes a difference in Wall Street with companies that we protect in terms of good risk management versus poor risk management. And bottom line is for all of us, when you're resilient, you're in business. So now we're going to move to the sequence of real business owners. We're going to talk about the things that they're doing. Any questions while we transition? Short, quick questions. Yes?
One of the things that you did mention, and I just wondered if you could talk to it. So many businesses, they may be practicing these, their business is fortified, it's open for business the next day, but the workforce isn't there.
Right.
Because their structures are destroyed or whatever. Can you just talk to that issue, please?
Yeah, so if the workforce is not there, because the infrastructure is not there, look at how you can have laptops that people take home on a regular basis, they can work from home. Have that in your plan as some mechanisms that they can use to try and do their job as best possible from a remote location. Forge agreements, backup agreements with other facilities that you can use as backup operations plans in the event of an emergency. Those are good options. We can talk about them. Okay, it's my pleasure now to introduce Mark Van Oppen. Rhode Island's got a lot of historic structures. They need to be protected. They represent some unique challenges, I think, to say the least. And so Mark is the managing director of the Armory Revival Group. He's got a history of restoring Victorian homes, nationally recognized for innovative projects to do that, and he's around the room. So let me turn it over to Mark.